I'm going to read a statement of purpose of one of my students who was admitted to Harvard's Masters of Public Health program. They do a really excellent job of being concise in 600 words and tying together their personal experiences with these issues and being very specific with what they want to do in public health. Your mother has been diagnosed with psychosis. My father relayed the heartbreaking news. She experienced a violent psychotic episode and was involuntarily admitted into the hospital. I was 19 when my stable family structure collapsed. My mother's battle with mental health is intertwined with an array of complex health inequities, including discrimination, cultural stigma towards mental health care, and an overall lack of cultural competence from healthcare providers. My mother is a Black Muslim Kenyan immigrant who proudly wears the hijab. Doctors often ignored her health concerns or preference for gender concordant providers to preserve modesty. This resulted in years of delayed medical treatment, exacerbating her burgeoning mental health condition. Deeply rooted systemic issues of racism, sexism, and religious bias run rampant within our healthcare system. With a Master's of Public Health focused on health management from Harvard University, I will develop hospital community programs that address disparities particular to women of color and dismantle adverse social determinants of mental health. This is an excellent intro for an MPH statement of purpose. We see that this issue is very personal and important to this person because it's something they've dealt with in their family. And we see that they're outlining specifically the kind of public health work they want to go into with addressing health disparities in this community of immigrant women who are Muslim and who often their needs aren't considered in the healthcare industry. So very concisely, this person's putting together a lot of different issues and showing what they want to work on in public health. One thing I want to point out that's done really well here and is really subtle is I often talk about starting with a story with your statement of purpose. That works if the thing you are talking about is really related and relevant to what it is you are applying for. You don't want to have a story that's about something that happened to you when you were young that has nothing to do with what you are applying for. But this personal anecdote about this person's mother and her mental health challenges is relevant to what this person's applying for. Another thing I want to point out is that this is a 600-word statement of purpose, which is very short. This person doesn't have time to go into a lot of detail of what happened to their mother. But all we see here is, one or two sentences that really summarize how this person experienced this in their family. So that's something to look out for in your own essays. You don't need to go into a big story. This is obviously something that was also very traumatic for this person. They didn't need to go into a lot of the details of the hard things that happened to them. They just briefly show this is something that I've dealt with in my family. In your own statement of purpose, you want to strike that balance if you are choosing to use a story like this in your statement of purpose. You want to make sure, one, that the story is relevant to what it is you're applying for, and two, that the story isn't too long, because we want the focus of the SOP to be on your qualifications for getting into the grad program. In college, I connected with other Black women for emotional support who shared similar stories of family members. We discussed the general lack of information about obtaining mental health services and the cultural stigmas that deter women from seeking help. In the Muslim community, harmful stigmas include bringing dishonor to a family or mental illness reflecting spiritual disconnect from God. These cathartic conversations drew me to becoming a peer health educator. My role entailed providing wellness coaching sessions to college students. I connected with women from marginalized communities who shared about struggling with depression and anxiety and reluctance towards getting help. I took responsibility for encouraging these women to seek treatment. I guided them towards free psychological services on campus and resources tailored for students of color. I learned that my perspective and intersecting identities serves as my strength, allowing me to listen and relate on a deeper level to communities who face similar struggles. There is a lack of health professionals who come from the communities they serve. I will utilize my personal experiences to better design and implement culturally competent mental health services for women of color. In this section, we really see this theme continuing of how this person wants to develop culturally appropriate care and public health interventions for the community they come from. And this comes across really strong in their leadership of how they've done this starting when they were in college as a peer health educator connecting with this community. If you're someone who's looking to work and serve a community that you are very familiar with, that you are a part of, that's often an excellent thing to bring up in your statement of purpose. How because you come from a certain community, you are better suited to serve that community because you understand what the community is dealing with and you are better able to connect with that community than someone who might be an outsider from that community. As a health educator, I've collaborated with hospital professionals to improve health and the dissemination strategies of patient education materials. These strategies include removing complex medical jargon and applying plain language principles across patient documents. I regularly interact with a diverse community of individuals who seek quality care, regardless of language, cultural, and disability differences. I've learned how low health literacy contributes to common issues amongst marginalized patient populations that result in misunderstanding health information. Poor adherence to medical treatment and lower utilization of preventative care are examples of challenges I work to improve through restructuring patient materials to accommodate specific needs. These experiences have emphasized how intertwined health literacy is with cultural competence. I'm motivated to learn more about how I can lead efforts that center the lived experience of diverse communities. One thing I want to point out is that this person did not have a lot of professional experience in public health, yet they still got into a top tier program like Harvard because what they do really well in the statement of purpose is they highlight a deep understanding of the issues that they're talking about. And so if you are someone who is newer in your career or you are coming straight out of undergrad, it's okay if you don't have that much experience, but what you want to do is really highlight and articulate your understanding of the health issues that you care about and the role you want to play in addressing those health issues, which is something this person does really well. So even though they don't have that much professional experience, they're still able to be admitted to a top program like Harvard. I'm attracted to Harvard's Master of Public Health emphasis on leadership opportunities. The courses Leadership and Communication and Public Health Meta Leadership will sharpen my public speaking skills, promote student-directed problem solving, and foster effective team collaboration. I'm eager to explore health management to gain analytical and leadership competencies. The exposure to academic projects related to organizing, financing, and delivery of healthcare will complement well with the interpersonal and communication courses. In every statement of purpose, you want to be making an argument for why that program is aligned with what you want to do. In a very short essay, like a 500-word or like in this case, a 600-word essay, you want to still do that, just make it very concise. So we see this is just a couple sentences. This is all you need to discuss the program and why it's a good fit for what you want to do. The pandemic has emphasized how marginalized communities are disproportionately disadvantaged by intersecting systems of health inequalities. With an MPH from Harvard, I will dedicate myself to expanding access to mental health care and bridge the gap between underserved populations and quality mental health services. The conclusion is short and sweet. It ties back to the theme that we've seen throughout this whole essay of how this person wants to improve access to mental health care for underserved populations. If you want help from me on applying to grad school, you can check out my free office hours that happen every month, as well as my Grad App Academy program. You could also download my sample grad school essays when you sign up for my newsletter below.